We are here. All right, all right, all right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Mariam. I'm an authentic leadership development coach where I help coaches, leaders, executives, and CEOs become more grounded in their leadership, right? We're no longer performing. Instead, we are embodying what true transformative leadership looks like. And that begins with your ability to be true to yourself. Why? Because you lead by example. You lead by example. Your team mirrors your leadership. And that is where we're starting today. CEOs are exhausted because of self-abandonment, not the business. What does this mean? CEOs are exhausted because of self-abandonment. What does that mean? Time and time again, I've met with CEOs and executives. I've done my research. I've read articles. CEOs and leaders are exhausted because they aren't honoring their truths and instead they feel like they're performing. They feel like they're putting on different hats of who they think they should be, of who society says they should be, of who they feel their company expects them to be rather than who they are. And I'm not asking you to abandon your executive presence. I'm simply offering you the opportunity, the insight to help you blend the two. Your authentic self-expression combined with your executive presence. Okay, here we go. I am your authentic leadership coach, Mariam Tawil. I am the CEO and founder of Intuazim Coaching LLC. I specialize in intuitive development and authentic leadership. And our work is research-backed, results-driven, and whole person transformations. I'd love to share with you a summary of how I got here. What brought me to this work? What brought me to this field of work? Let's talk about it. I grew up as a people pleaser, trained to keep the peace, make others comfortable, and abandon myself in the process. It became a survival skill. But as I stepped into leadership, I realized that self-abandonment does not create impact. It creates emptiness. Because when you abandon yourself, you blend in with the rest. That is what performative leadership is. It is behaving, performing in a way that you've seen other leaders do. Your coworkers, how do they behave, right? Maybe they're so successful because they do XYZ. Maybe I need to implement XYZ to get the same results. When in reality, that is completely false. And it is completely neglectful of your unique attributes, your unique essence, the essence that you bring into leadership. Let's keep that in mind as we move forward. Unlearning that pattern meant showing up authentically, even on the days I did not feel like it, especially in business, especially when leading. Now, one misconception I hear a lot in regards to authentic leadership is they think that authentic leadership means like, okay, well, I don't feel like really talking to anyone today. I don't really feel like checking in with anyone today, and so I'm not. They think that authentic leadership is based off of how you feel, when in reality it's based off of your core. Who are you at your core? That includes your values, right? If your values include honesty, transparency, humanity, community, then you would push through the discomfort, push through the resistance you feel to foster these relationships, even though you don't feel like it that day. It means putting others above your temporary feelings because you're here to serve for a greater mission, for a greater purpose, right? It's coming in with the insight, the wisdom that your feelings are temporary, your emotions come and go, your team still needs you, right? So you don't let it out on your team. You take responsibility for your emotions, you put them aside, and you give your team your all, the all that you are capable of for that day. And it's being honest and vulnerable. Yo, I'm not doing too well today, I haven't had the time to eat yet, so excuse me if I seem rigid or, if I'm moving urgently. Just wanted to let you guys know. Okay. It's communication, open and honest and vulnerable communication that creates psychologically safe workplaces, work environments, relationships. Oopsies. I never that true leadership is not about performance, it's about presence. It's about serving powerfully from a place of self trust, where the foundation of your work is the elevation and empowerment of others. And that starts with no longer betraying yourself at your core. Here we have our first case study. This is DeMarcus. I can't see. Oh, there we go. Okay. When DeMarcus came in, he was a six-figure railroad engineer, feeling called to something deeper, more than his blue-collar work. Although honorable, it is completely draining, laborious on the body, physically demanding. And he knew that he was ready for more, meant for more. He knew that in his heart, he has so much more to offer, so much more, right? Due to his experience, due to his wisdom, his insight, his experience in life, he knows he's meant for more. He wanted to shift into intuitive, purpose-driven leadership, but he needed the support realigning with his soul's path. The ROI of us working together at the end of our 4-week personalized coaching program, he had a strategic relocation to be closer to aligned business partners, which allows for increased collaboration and execution speed. He had a clear pivot into personal empowerment coaching, which is exactly what he knew he was called to do. He's done the work before. He wasn't charging people at first, but after working together, he began charging $500 an hour for his work. And I'm so proud of him for that. I'm so proud of him for that, for making that shift, for finally claiming, for finally embodying that he is who he says he is. He is who he says he is. And that's the beauty of embodiment. It's aligning every aspect of yourself with your truth. And the truth is, his work has always been transformational, always impactful. He's worked with clients before, has results, right? He has testimonials. The shift of finally deciding to charge 500 an hour for his work, his time, his energy, his experience came through embodiment. Okay. He had a shift from reactive to responsive leadership, no longer forcing results, but allowing high quality opportunities to unfold. He's a very spiritual guy. He knew that everything was unfolding for him in his highest favor. He didn't feel the need to rush the process. And that's the beauty of alignment, right? When you are in alignment, you understand that things are working out in your highest favor, even when they may not seem like it. Even when the physical world, the realm externally looks like it's falling apart, you understand spiritually things are falling apart for you in your highest favor, right? When you intentionally say prayers, when you intentionally intend to walk in the path of your soul path, you understand that it requires your physical realm, this physical realm, to look like it's falling apart, right? And that might mean your sales slow down, or you notice there's a high turnover rate in your team, in your company. Why? Okay, let's move on. He had heightened confidence and communication, and he began speaking with conviction and attracting aligned connections. He also had internal alignment, which equated to external momentum. His decisions became faster, cleaner, and less costly, both emotionally and energetically. Now, his transformation was not just emotional. It created the clarity, positioning, and energetic congruence required to launch a whole new chapter in business without losing power in the process. And that's crucial. It's crucial to be able to pivot while keeping up the momentum. Here we have Mariam, a dear friend of mine. She found me on TikTok. She downloaded my free video training, the premium price mindset training. And then, inspired by my video training, she began coaching those around her, her friends and her family. That's what she says right here. She started coaching her friend last week on losing weight through both practical tips and mindset shifts. I'm just so proud of her. She used to be a corporate, she used to work in corporate. She was making six figures. She left that job and she kind of found herself in this place of just quietness, right? Just stillness. It's almost like, what now? Where do I go now? And she tells me that after watching my video training, look, it says she's been having these aha moments. She I'm literally, look, these are her words. I'm literally seeing this unemployed era of my life as a golden opportunity to finally escape this rat race and build something for myself. She says, I always thought it required more acquisition of knowledge or more education or more followers. But your story with that one client inspired me so much. And now I'm watching the video and it's all clicking like never before. And I'm so excited to apply it. It just makes me so happy for women especially to acknowledge, recognize, and hold the power that they truly do have, right? We have the power to create the realities we dream of. This is alignment embodied. All right, let's begin. Let's begin. Let's move forward. Authenticity, what is it? To me, these are my definitions of authenticity, what it means to me. And I think that's the most important part of this, right? If I'm an authentic leadership coach, I can't define authenticity as what it means to John or Jimmy or Deborah. I have to define it as what it means to me in my own experience, my own insight, my own wisdom. Excuse me. To me, authenticity is the knowing of your own values and code of ethics. It means being comfortable to show in your truth, which also means saying no when you really want to say no. This means not forcing a smile when you don't want to smile. And this is big, especially for women. Women often hold the burden of the peacemakers, right? Let me create peace. Let me reduce the tension. Let me not come off as a bitch by smiling and making sure that you're comfortable. It is no woman's duty, no one's duty to ensure the comfort of other individuals, especially in professional settings. Okay, why are women ones that feel the need, the pressure to smile the most? Why is that? It's due to people pleasing, okay? Authenticity also means that every exertion of your energy has to be intentional from the soul and not performative. Let me give you an example, okay? Because this happened to me recently in real life. You see someone collecting donations on the corner of the street. I was outside Target. Someone was, he had a clipboard, collecting signatures and donations for a charity that he was raising funds for. In my heart, I genuinely didn't want to be bothered. I genuinely just wanted to walk in to Target, not talk to anyone. But I said, you know what? This person does not deserve to be ignored outrightly, right? It would make me feel uncomfortable to walk by this person acting like they don't exist. It goes against my humanity. It goes against humanity, right? I value connection. I value community. I value transparency. I value honesty. I value people, I care very much about people. And so instead of ignoring him outrightly, I make eye contact with him. He approaches me. He starts to talk to me about what he's raising funds for. I forget what the charity is for. Asks me if I'm interested in donating. Listen, if this was me 10 years ago, I would have folded. I would have succumbed to the pressure, the peer pressure of donating. But you know what I said? I said no. He asked me, do I want to donate? No, I don't. And that's okay. It's okay that I didn't want to donate. It's okay that you don't want to donate to people sometimes, right? That is what authenticity is. That is what honoring my truth looks like. It's incorporating the value of recognizing this person, right? I didn't want to ignore him. I didn't want to outrightly ignore him and walk by him, act like he doesn't exist. I think he deserves to be seen as a human being. So I gave him that. I see you, I hear you, I'm listening to your speech. And yet I'm still grounded enough in my own power, in my own values, in my own truth to be honest with you and myself that no, I don't want to donate anything right now. Do you want to take a flyer? No, I don't. And you say it kindly. You say it with respect. But the point of this is being truthful with grace, with integrity, with dignity. That is what this is about. And I know that some of us might be taking this personally. I'm sure that many of us watching this right now have outrightly ignored people, right? Outrightly ignored people asking for money on the corner of the street. I know that we've all done it. But is that really who you want to be? Is that really who you are? You can't even make eye contact, give them a smile. I mean, connection is what we all seek. Take a step down from the pride, the ego, or the fear of peer pressure. Allow yourself to be human and treat others like humans too. Because no does not have to mean aggression or disconnection. Sometimes the no is the no that creates even stronger bonds between you and business partners, aligned investors, intimate partners, etc. Authenticity is also waking up and showing up in a way that is real. It means not hiding the parts of you that makes you vulnerable. Because naturally, we want to suppress the aspects of ourselves that others could potentially use against us. However, what if that is your superpower? What if, with your strategic vulnerability, you draw in the folks that value your depth and stay loyal to you as their leader? Something to think about. Now, we talked about authenticity. How about inauthenticity? And how do you know if you're being real or not? How do you know if you're being inauthentic or not? That's a good question. Now, I've seen it time and time again, women in business and in leadership abandoning what they know is right for them for what they were told was right. This cycle depletes them not only emotionally, but spiritually and financially. And I want to know, does this sound like you? Some of the symptoms of inauthentic leadership include feeling spiritually disconnected despite massive business growth. You don't fully trust yourself to receive rest, support, or guidance. Rest and slowing down feels triggering rather than safe. You encounter cycles of hiring people that use you, extract resources, and then leave. You feel like you're hiding and wearing masks in leadership roles. Now, give me a moment. I do have notes. All right. Very good. All right. I recently spoke with the CEO of a medical device company. She talked to me about how she's made so many bad decisions because she's ignored her intuition. She's been taken advantage of and betrayed by several business partners, and she just wants to learn how to attract the right people. And I'm here to say that that starts with being grounded in your energy first, serving from purpose and power, not pressure, because that's where it begins. And going back to what I previously mentioned, what do I mean by it starts by being grounded in your power and purpose first? Let's think about that. What does it mean to be grounded in your power and your purpose? Let's take the example of that person asking for collecting funds, collecting donations for a charity. Me being grounded in my power and in my purpose and in my values allowed me to honor him as a human being, giving him my time. You know, time is valuable, right? The greatest gift you can give someone is your time. Is it in your values? Is it in you? Does it fill your cup up to take the time to give someone your presence and your company rather than outrightly ignoring that person, you know, asking for donations for a charity? Because is that really who you are? Are those really your values? Is that really the kind of person you want to be? Someone that ignores someone, a human being, someone that turns the other way? Who are you internally at your core? Because the way you show up within leadership, as a CEO, as an executive, your behaviors, your demeanor, it's a mirror of how you behave outside of work too. Okay. So this is why my approach with authentic leadership development training is grounded in who you are at your core, modeling the version of you to others that really express who you are at your core, like your values, your morals. It begins with you. It doesn't begin in the office. It begins outside of the office. It begins when you unlock your front door. It begins when you put your bag down. It begins when you take off the makeup. It begins when it's just you and you. Who are you when no one is watching? How do you behave when no one is watching? A true leader is still a leader even when no one is watching. Now we know what authenticity looks like, but what about inauthenticity in leadership or in business? Now, the CEO of the medical company, the medical device company that I spoke to recently, she spoke with me about how she's made several bad decisions because she's ignored her intuition. And that led to her connecting with multiple business partners that she described would come into her space, come into her company, right? Extract resources and then leave to end up betraying her, working with the enemy. Over time, this exhausts you. Over time, this hinders your ability to serve powerfully with love, right? I mean, you feel hurt, right? You're making these connections and they go behind your back and betray you. How can you avoid these things so that you can continue to serve powerfully? Inauthenticity looks like partnering with investors you don't truly align with. Alignment looks like your values, your morals. You and the investor, you and the business partner, they have to align. Otherwise, you're creating friction. Even though the friction does not appear in the beginning, it will over time. And that's where I need you to get connected to your intuition. I mean, is your body telling you that this is right? Are your instincts telling you that this is right? Okay. Even though these characteristics of someone's values are often seen as personal, they're actually also very much impersonal too. They also are very much seen in the way a person behaves with the world around them, with the people around them, which is why it matters to work with individuals that you genuinely align with, that you genuinely share similar values and morals with, right? Similar approaches to life, approaches to leadership. Here we go. You're being authentic if you're saying the right things for optics or social media, but not modeling those values internally. This means that you're a performative leader. And it's not that you're like a bad leader. It's just that we're gonna discuss in soon after this slideshow, after this slide, I mean, the reasons why we do these things. It's due to internal pain, internal trauma that we haven't yet healed, and it shows up in our leadership. And authenticity also looks like getting stuck in relationships or partnerships that don't really fulfill you, similar to the situation of the CEO that I spoke with, that don't really fulfill you, uplift you, or bring you joy. And even those that don't align with your purpose, your overall purpose, your company's main purpose, your mission. Okay, you struggle with visibility despite being a visionary. You struggle with being seen despite your 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 creative innovations. And that comes from a misaligned self-concept and identity. Okay, the Harvard Business Review, an article from 2021 states that leaders who are rated low on authenticity have teams with higher burnout and turnover rates. I know in my own experience, I felt a major disconnect emotionally between myself and my previous supervisors. And it's often because I notice they are performative. And naturally I'm very hyper vigilant. I'm very skilled at picking up on body language, micro expressions, and this might be due to my upbringing that was very inconsistent, unpredictable. And so one of my survival skills was to be hyper vigilant, very hyper vigilant of shifts in tone and body language. It made me hyper vigilant to energy as well. And so because I am very sensitive to people's personality and the energies they're exerting, it's very easy for me to tell when someone's energy is being forced. And because someone's forcing an interaction, forcing a personality, there's no way, there's no room to create genuine connection. And that in itself fractures relationships, right? It creates minute fractures every day, every moment. You force yourself to be someone you're not. Okay, and your team recognizes these things. Your clients recognize your performance. We're much more instinctual than you might know. Okay, people now more than ever are craving genuine connection, genuine interaction. They want to feel seen, known, acknowledged. A Harvard Business Review study showed employees are 3 times more likely to be disengaged when their leader lacks authenticity or emotional intelligence. In my own personal life, before starting this company, before starting Into Azim Coaching LLC, I worked underneath several managers, several supervisors. And the managers that I enjoyed the most, the managers, the teams I performed the best at were always those that prioritized authenticity and vulnerable interactions. Why? Because it breaks the ice and it bonds us through our humanity, our common humanity, right? When you connect humans at the core of which they are similar, right? Vulnerable situations, right? It means I'm not perfect. Like I'm going through things too. Like this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm dealing with. And yet I'm still here because I love what I do. It's by leading with example, with integrity, honesty, and transparency. It's not hiding the parts of you that could potentially be used against you. It's letting go of that fear and prioritizing vulnerability, truth, honesty. Okay. So why do some of us feel that we're always performing or like we're putting on different hats for different situations, for different people, right? Why is it? Well, like I stated earlier, this often comes from unhealed trauma, right? Trauma, baggage that we've continued to carry with us without awareness that we are carrying it with us. Whoopsies. Okay. Many of us have had to abandon and neglect our own limits, capacities, and desires in order to create safety. This is a habit that we have unconsciously continued to execute far into adulthood. And I've seen it time and time again with several CEOs, several executives and leaders, right? We're operating from a fear of scarcity, right? If I don't act in this way, I won't get the results I want. But is that entirely true? Or is that what you've been conditioned to believe? As a result, we say yes when we really want to say no. We don't ask questions when we need more clarity and reassurance. The thought looks like, I don't want to speak up right now because I don't want to seem unintelligent. I don't want to seem like I haven't been doing my work. I don't want to seem too needy or too much. And this is also something your team goes through as well. When they don't feel psychologically safe to reject an idea or um, basically go against the status quo. I want us to create leaders, individuals, teams that go against the status quo because that's what individuality is. That's what independence is. This is what fosters strong, resilient teams. It's when we create the safety to speak out and speak up. Does this make sense to us, to any of us? Or are we just following along? Or are we just blindly following the leader? True leaders elevate, encourage their team to say what they need to say what they want to say, because the leader understands that they don't have all the answers. They simply have the courage to show up, lead, and learn along the way, while also encouraging and developing their team to be independent thinkers, to be self-led individuals. That is what true leadership is. And these are the kinds of leaderships I am helping build. Okay? It starts with you as a leader. How are you showing up? I'm very passionate about this, as you can see, because I believe it wholeheartedly. We need more naysayers. We need more naysayers in organizations. We need people with different ideas. This is how creative innovation happens. When we create the environment to be safe enough for these innovations and ideas to be brought up and spoken of. Not only that, but when the ideas are also implemented, when your team shares an idea or shares why they don't agree with something, Their ideas should be implemented or executed or, you know, held with some value, implemented in some way. It's about the action, not just the opportunity, right? It's not just it's not just prioritizing, it's not just offering the opportunity to share your ideas, share your feedback. Okay, and then what? Because and then what? What happens after I share my idea? What are you going to do with it? These are the thoughts your team is having. And then they call you out on your BS. They can see that you're just BSing. That's performative. When you ask for feedback and ideas to do nothing with the ideas, that's performance. That's performative leadership. You don't really intend on doing anything with the inside of your team. You just want to look like you care. That's performance. That's performance. And I've seen it so many times. It's absolutely exhausting and sad and draining. And it's one of the main reasons why people leave their companies. They don't really feel valued. People don't really feel valued. People have brains and experience and wisdom and insight. They want to feel like they're using it. They want to feel like they're being developed. They want to feel like they're being poured into as they pour into their company too. And if that opportunity is not there for them, not only the opportunity, but the execution of it, they're going to find somewhere else where they do feel valued. We also have the fear of rejection. We prioritize the pleasure of others over our own in order to maintain control over this sense of security or certainty. Now, I'd love to share with you a few ways that you can start leading with authenticity today. Today, my friends. You can model vulnerability without losing authority. Share relevant lessons, failures, or doubts in team meetings or one-on-ones. What this does is it fosters psychological safety, shown by Google's Project Aristotle to be the #1 factor in high-performing teams. Lead with strategic vulnerability, not emotional dumping. That's the key word here, strategic vulnerability. Think about that. Take a few minutes to just reflect. In what ways have you been rigid in your leadership? In what ways have you been dishonest? In what ways have you been fearful? Because the root of these performative leadership behaviors is often fear. Let's get to the root of it. It's often fear, the fear of being outed, the fear of not being good enough, the fear of misguiding your team. Now, the beauty of leadership, I want you to remember, is that you don't have all the answers. It's that you care enough to give everyone on your team a voice, a moment to be heard, to be seen, to be felt. Not only that, but genuinely putting their ideas to work. Okay. #2, stop over accommodating. Honor your no, especially for my ladies. Us ethnic ladies deal with this a lot. I grew up in a Middle Eastern household where we're very hospitable, we're very generous, we care a lot about our guests, we care a lot about people, we're very giving, very, very giving and very generous, and I love that about us. However, when it goes unchecked, when our hospitality goes unchecked, especially for women that were raised in ethnic households to serve others, to be of service, when that goes unchecked, we can unconsciously neglect our needs for the sake of others, for the sake of being chosen, for the sake of safety, when in reality it's actually abandonment of the self. You're not actually creating safety, you're actually hindering it. You're actually stopping safety from even manifesting. Say no when something doesn't align with your capacity or vision. Capacity or vision. Keep that in mind. Even if it's profitable, Okay? Even if something is profitable, if it doesn't feel right for you, if it doesn't seem right, even on paper, if it looks right, don't do it. You're dishonoring yourself. You're creating more and more of that friction internally. Eventually it's going to find its way out. It's going to seep out, and I don't want that for you. Teach your team to do the same. Boundaries are clarity, not conflict. Boundaries are clarity, not conflict. Let's redefine boundaries. Reward integrity over image. Publicly celebrate decisions made with honesty and alignment, even when they're not the most convenient. This builds a culture where people feel safe showing up fully. Okay, people don't leave companies, they leave managers, they leave teams, they leave workplace cultures. What are you doing to create the healthiest, most creative and innovative team that you can? It starts with how you lead. Okay, you can start rewarding integrity over image. Celebrate decisions made with honesty and alignment, even when they're not the most convenient. And this goes back to making the hard right decision. The hard right decision. Make the hard right decision. Is it the right decision? Yes. Is it hard to make? Absolutely. 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 But is it the right decision? Yes. And so you do it because you have integrity, because you're serving with a greater purpose in mind. Okay. Now, where have you been performing instead of leading? I'd love to offer you my 4-week authentic leadership program as it's now open for enrollment. It's a high impact opportunity for leaders who are ready to embody executive presence, foster psychologically safe and high performing environments, and lead with unwavering integrity without compromising your values or falling into people-pleasing patterns. Now, if you're committed to evolving into the kind of leader others trust, respect, and follow, this is your invitation to step in. I would love to work with you, and my email is here for you to get connected with me. I'm also on LinkedIn. Here are my socials. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Threads, YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to be notified when I'm posting and when I go live. Thank you for watching. I genuinely hope that you leave with some strong takeaways today. I truly hope that you find the courage to start leading with authenticity, integrity, transparency, not only for your own sake, not only for the sake of maintaining peace within your heart and soul, because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And I know you know that. It's your happiness, it's your peace of mind. And you do that by first grounding yourself in your core values. Because when you do that, you show up much more powerfully, much more honestly in your leadership positions and in your leadership roles. That is what I want to leave you with here today. Thank you for being here. I genuinely look forward to connecting with you. And again, my name is Mariam. I'm an intuitive and authentic leadership development coach. And I look forward to working with you and helping you prosper and flourish as a leader.